Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Ronke, and I love to talk about making moves both geographically and professionally. In today's video, I'm talking through how to choose your travel partner wisely. There's some considerations that I think we just need to have in mind that will help us to make a good decision. Now, personally for me, I've traveled by myself. I've traveled with my husband, with my sister, with my family. I've traveled with church friends. I've traveled with school friends. I've traveled with work friends turned real friends. Hey y'all. And I've also traveled in groups of friends, if that makes sense. So variety of different groups, right? And through it all, I've kind of figured out how I like to travel best. Personally for me, my top 3 travel partners have got to be my husband, my sister, and myself. I bet y'all weren't expecting that. No, but honestly, I love traveling by myself. Nonetheless, like I said, it's taken me time to kind of figure out who I like to travel with. And just because I did not mention some other people does not mean I don't like traveling with those people. I just said my top 3. Nonetheless, let's get into the video. The first tip I'm going to tell you is be mindful of personalities. I think, especially maybe as the group gets larger, sometimes there really starts to be like a really big mix of personalities. And I just think this is something to be mindful of, right? If you have one friend that's extremely dominant and you have another friend that's also extremely dominant, but they rarely ever agree on anything, you might be setting yourself up to have drama on a trip. I personally am not paying money to fly around the world, fly anywhere, drive anywhere to have drama. So at this point in my life, I pay attention to personalities before I invite people on trips. And truthfully, at this point, that's why I just like to either travel by myself or with only one other person, because all we got to do is worry about the two of us and not about me and you and them and them. No, we're not doing all that. My second tip is location. Location matters because you do have some people who are habitually traveling to the Caribbean. You have some people that all they do is go to, Europe. So you want to be mindful of if the person or people that you're traveling with tend to have kind of some geographic boundaries, right? There are some people that do not travel outside of the US. Either they're not going to get on a plane to go outside the US, or they just don't feel comfortable leaving the US, or maybe they don't even have a passport. So you want to keep those things in mind as well, right? I know for myself, when we were trying to decide where we were going to go for our honeymoon, I wanted to go to Puerto Rico because I've been in Puerto Rico before, and for me it was like, well, it's kind of along the same geographic side as the DC area, and it'll be a nice cute little honeymoon. But my husband wanted to go to Hawaii, and in my mind I'm like, oh, that's a long flight. But we went to Hawaii and we absolutely loved it. But if I had not been willing to budge, I don't know, we might have just stayed in Maryland, y'all. We might have just stayed in DC and not did a honeymoon. The third tip I'm going to point out is, what is your purpose for going on this trip, right? There are some people who, because they work, like they work really hard, every time they take a vacation, it's to relax. There's some other people that they take vacations because they want to explore the entire world. They want their footprint to be on every inch of sand. So you need to know what is the purpose that you guys have for the trip, right? It would be terrible for you and one other person or whoever to travel all across the globe to, let's say, Indonesia, and they're trying to stay inside and just sleep the whole day away, and you want to go and do things that are a little bit more active. You have to kind of know where you both are in terms of what you want to get out of the trip, what the purpose of the trip is. So that's something you want to also discuss ahead of time. Additionally to this point, even if you agree that, oh, we both want to adventure, there are some people that they want to keep everything very cookie cutter, which, nothing wrong with. I do that occasionally, where they're doing all the same, tourist locations, whereas some other people, they want to really get off the beaten path. So you also kind of need to be on the same line as far as if you're, as far as like what kind of things you want to do. This fourth thing is super important, budget. And when I talk about budget, I think, of course, obviously you want to make sure that you're both, that you all are comfortable with the cost of like flight, accommodations, any other thing that really matters. But you also want to think about their spending in general, right? I personally, when I travel, my hand just be flying. Okay, I just spend. But that doesn't mean that I just spend on anything. I'm more likely to spend on experiences and food, right? Or on making sure I'm safe, right? So there are some things that I will spend for that other people might not. So you want to keep that in mind, because if you guys decide last minute that you want to book a car and one person is absolutely not spending any extra money, you're not going to get that car, or you're just going to pay for it by yourself, right? I remember when my sister and I went to Puerto Rico the first time, the hotel we were staying at wasn't quite close to San Juan. And then also there were some like Wi-Fi issues at the airport, at the hotel rather. And so I think after our second day, we decided that we were gonna get another hotel much closer to the city. And this hotel that we're moving to was a little bit more expensive, but you know, we were fine with it. But because we were leaving this first hotel early, we were gonna lose one night's worth of fare. And we were fine with it because we both were on the same page. But you're gonna find some people that are not spending anything else on accommodation than what they've already budgeted. So have that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind, and this kind of ties back a bit to personality, but you want to keep in mind people's ideologies in terms of planning or in terms of doing activities. You know, anyone that travels with me, they know that I will set up a Google document for our trip. That Google document is going to have everybody's flight information. It's going to have our, you know, wherever we're staying at. It's also probably going to list out exactly what we're doing on every single day because I'm a planner. That's what I do. Whereas some other people, I mean, they know they're getting on a flight, they know they're staying in a hotel, and that's probably about the extent of it because they want to kind of plan things as they go along. Now, the first time that I went to France with my sister, we went to Paris, and everything was go, go, go. Like 9 a.m. we have to be at the cathedral, 9:10 we're hopping on the train so that we can go to this direction, and by 9:30 we have to be at this place. We're staying for 3 minutes, we're gonna take pictures, and then we're heading to this place, and then we're heading to that place. And it was very hectic. We enjoyed it, but it was still hectic. Now, the second time around when I went back to France, this time to the south of France, I went with my friend. And you know, the vibe of the south of France anyway is very laissez-faire or very relaxing, very let them do kind of thing. And so we really were, I mean, you know, we had a plan in terms of, oh, we want to see this, we want to see that, but it was a lot more flexible. And that really works for that trip and it works for us. The next thing that I have on my list is availability. Now, this matters a lot if you're traveling with someone that has defined times they can take off, whether they're in school or whether it's because of their job. Maybe their job has peak seasons or, you know, I think for some people in the medical field, they have like certain weeks that they can request off, right? You want to have in mind, is the person generally available? So if you're a person that you just need 2 weeks to kind of figure yourself out and be off and take a trip, you might not necessarily be able to plan with a friend who's in medical school or a friend who's, you know, in some sort of school, right? You want to have in mind availability, and if that means you have to plan out way in advance so that you can take their schedule into consideration, then you just have to do that if you want to travel with that person. My sister and I, when we went to Europe, we wanted to go for about 10 days because we were going to visit 3 different countries. And so to make it happen, I remember we had to wait until I was going to be on spring break. And so because I was going to be on spring break, that means I had 5 days automatically off of school. Now that semester, I actually did not have Friday classes. So that meant that we could leave, I think, the Thursday prior to my spring break. So we left Thursday morning-ish. And so that gave us Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 days that we can get to spend in Europe. Now, if my sister was like, girl, that's your own business, you're in school, they ain't got nothing to do with me, I probably wouldn't have gone with her because I'm not missing classes that I'm paying premium coin for. No, ma'am. The last thing that I take into consideration personally, and I think everyone really should, is cultural sensitivity. Cultural sensitivity to me is basically the how you gonna act factor. Now, if you're within the US, it might not matter, but I especially feel that when you're going to outside destinations, maybe places that the culture is something you're not familiar with, I really want to go with someone that's open-minded and someone that is respectful of other cultures, you know, as they learn, right? Because for me, my whole thing about travel is being able to experience another culture. And so that's not to say that everything that the culture does, I'm going to do, but I at least want to make sure that I'm not outright offending them or doing something that is plain old, you know, taboo in their culture. And you might have some friends that don't care. They're just going to do them all the time. And if you have a friend like that, I would let them do them at home and not with you on a vacation. The first time that I went to Dubai, I hadn't been there before, obviously. And so I didn't really know that there were certain things, you know, like with transportation, women have to be in a specific side. And then you have a section for like married people and men. And I had to like be learning as I was going. But even when it didn't seem convenient, I still made sure that I did the right thing because I didn't want to do something that was going to come off, you know, offensive in another person's country when I'm a visitor there. So I know I've just listed out several things for you to consider, and ultimately it's really up to you how you want to prioritize them and which things actually do matter to you. However, I do think there are some absolutely non-negotiable items that you have to make sure this person is. Whoever you're traveling with, they need to be mature, they need to be responsible, they need to be trustworthy. you don't want to end up in a situation where you're going to be stranded or, you know, set up somewhere that you're not familiar with. So just have those things in mind. All in all, a trip is whatever you make of it. So have fun as you're figuring out the people that you can travel with, right? It's all a learning experience. And the truth is, over time, life changes anyways. So, you know, maybe today you can travel with all your girlfriends. By the time that you get older, you might be traveling with your kids or traveling with someone else. All in all, the trip is what you make of it. So go out, have fun, and have an open mind. As you try to figure out who you like traveling with, I hope you also actually enjoy the traveling process. That's all I have for you today. If you have any additional tips that you keep in mind when you're looking for travel partners, or any funny stories from having questionable travel partners, please put them down in the comments. Otherwise, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. See you all next time.